Amazing,
are,
right?
Larry, we're live at this point, so I forgot to put up the Live with Larry Nichols banner, so there it is. All right, folks, we are live. It is Friday, August 30th. Larry is with us, and I forgot to turn off my sound, so give me a minute, and I will do that. Take it away, Larry. Go ahead.
All right, guys, it's Friday. Now, how many people are with us as of now?
4, 8. The number's growing.
Growing. All right, good. Well, let me dance for a moment. For those of you that are looking at the hurricane coming in, let me give you a little insider's tip from a paratrooper that has to kind of watch hurricanes and know about them. If you will look in the center of the storm where the big red blob is, when you see a small yellow hole in the center, that's called a small eye wall. When you see that, you have a storm that's going to be bad and most of the time a killer. As of yet, this storm does not have that signature. So that means most often, not always, but that means most often, it's not going to be as serious as it can be. We pray it's not. But as you watch it develop, when you see a hurricane moving towards Florida or towards any of the Gulf states, when you see a small eye wall in the center of the storm, when it's real small, real tight, that is an indicator that it is going to be severe when it hits big time. This one does not have that signature yet. So if that helps anybody, I do not want to prevent any of you that live in Florida in the possible track of the storm. I don't want to prevent you from making the proper preparations, but you need to remember, to the news media, to the weather people, storms like this are big things for them. This is when they get to draw everybody's attention to their network 24 hours a day watching this weather. And so a lot of times, if not all of the time, they hype it up and use it to promote their channel or their station and to keep people hooked on their programming. So as with all things with the media, a lot of times what you see and what isn't always the same thing. So just that bit of caution. If anybody's concerned. Now I'm looking at a different model on Fox right now, and it shows in this one picture they had up, I don't know the difference in the radar that it was using, but it did show a small center. And usually, folks, when you take the center of the storm, look at about 1 or 2 o'clock. And that's where the most severe rain wall will come, the most severe water surges will come, and that'll be the high damage area. Now you wonder why I would have to know that kind of stuff. Well, folks, in the work I was doing in the old days, oftentimes we would have to jump into an area, and you might have to jump right before a hurricane or a storm was about to hit. So you learned pretty quick. If you wanted to stay alive when you're jumping, you learned to read storms pretty well. So just in the interest of killing a little time till more people get here, I thought I might share that with you.
Yeah, we've got Larry. We've got 27 on right now. And question I have a question I want to start with.
All right.
It was interesting. A little while ago, I was listening to something a couple hours ago, and he was making a big deal about I-75 should be closed down except for people heading north out of the state. So, I mean, certainly if it's going to be bad, you don't want to wait till the last minute because it's very hard to get out. So, I don't know if you'd like to address the need to evacuate at this point or not.
Well, I'm not going to I would rather not do that in the interest of folks. I would not want to give you my impression and it cost you or someone you love their lives. I don't want to do that. I'm just telling you that that's just a good indicator for those of you when you're watching them form and you're watching them move towards our nation, the coast, wherever. Just look for that signature. Just know this, not so much that one's not terrible if it doesn't have that tight little dot in the middle of the eye wall. Not so much for that, but so that if you see one with that small dot, please, in that case, take evasive action if you can, because those are going to be humdingers. They're going to be tough. They're going to be bad. One without the tight eye wall, they can still be bad. I'm not telling you not to leave. I'm not telling you not to take precautionary measures. But I assure you, if you see the small center of the storm in a real small little area in the middle of the red blob, that one, for every reason, get out, get away from it, because it will be bad. Now,
Hey, Larry, two questions first. Since we're talking about weather, one question says, can President Trump do anything to China to stop their meddling in our weather patterns?
No, cannot. You know, guys, let me just straight up tell you, just because a person is president of the United States with the awesome power that comes with that role, it doesn't mean that we can do and order other countries to do anything. Not even small countries, but especially countries like China. So no, there's nothing really he can do. Well, that's the other question.
John said that he wrote to Barr and asked everyone he knows to do so as well. And he said, what else can we do?
Well, right now, that's it, John. And thank you for doing it. Thank you so much. I noticed last night, because of what I was doing, I was able to see more of the Tucker Carlson, Hannity, Laura Ingraham program than I normally get to see in the course of the day. Now, by the way, today I'm going to do something I said I wasn't going to do, but I'm going to do it. I'm actually AWOL. I'm AMA, gives medical advice, being here. So if any of you can PayPal for $200, $400, $600 immediately, would you please do it? Because it may have severe consequences if I don't raise it right now. Please, just if you're here, if you can do anything, do it now with PayPal, because I am kind of breaking the rules the way I came here to be on with you. But I intend to keep the program going at all risks. To me, I don't care about me. I care about the country, and I care about this program is essential to what we've got to do. So if you can help, please do it now, please. I was able to see Carlson, Hannity, and Ingram, not all of it, but more than I normally do. Then I did something else. I went to MSNBC and CNN. Now, if you watch Tucker Carlson, Hannity, or Ingram, their version of the Horowitz report about Comey was true. It was true. Horowitz went as far as he could go, I say, because Comey has him with stuff he can blackmail him with. He went as far as he could go and hope that Comey would not come down on him. So he points out in that report, it gives all the story about him breaking the rules of the FBI. However, he does not go so far as to recommend prosecution. And that's when you know something's not right. But now, when you watch those three. Now, I want you to go over and watch MSNBC and CNN. Now, remember, Comey's response to the report was arrogant, and it literally makes no sense if the interpretation of the report is what Carlson and Hannity and Ingram came up with. It makes no sense because he's saying, well, I'm not going to ask for people to do whatever, but, you know, a simple apology for saying I was going to whatever. Now, you wonder how he could have the brass to do such a thing. I mean, that's just, with that report, you just can't imagine him saying something like that. I mean, the report, if you read it, does not make him look good at all. But then if you watch MSNBC and CNN for 10 minutes, you will see why he's able to do that. Because if you see their interpretation of the report, guess what? It vindicates Comey of everything. Everything.
How?
And as a matter of fact, that Chuck, whatever his name is, Chuck, well, I can't remember his name, but he's the guy that took over Tim Russert's program. And I literally saw him say that, you know what, I'm paraphrasing what he said to the people, the woman that was on with him. He said, but you know what has actually happened is James Comey's reputation, his image, everything has been destroyed by the president. I'm sitting there going, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. That's what he said. And of course, the person on with him agreed. Now think about that, folks. What in that report, coming from the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, what in that report, as bad as it makes Comey look, which is not as bad as it should make him look, what does that have to do with the president ruining Comey's image? But to all those people that's what they watch, that's the truth. Do you hear me? That's the truth. And if you saw CNN, if you saw MSNBC, that whole report is totally different than what you see in truth through Fox, or at least reading the words on the report right out of the report. I tell you this because this is back to what we've been talking about over and over and over. The only thing the people that watch CNN and MSNBC see, all that they see, which means all that they hear and all that they know, is their spin. It's theirs. And if you watch it, and if that's all you watch, that's what you believe. It's that critical. Thank you. I got Sharon said 20. Thank you, Sharon. Dear God, thank you, man.
Cindy Minnie says if everyone gave $10, that would go a long way. We've got 54 people here. If everybody gave $10,
yeah.
But
now, look, yeah, well, there's, thank you, Sandy. Sandy said 10. Look, so do y'all understand what I've been trying to tell you? The people that watch CNN and MSNBC, they have an entirely different picture of the world than we do. It was told to me, I told Mary Ellen, and it made little sense, but it's the truth. Today, I want y'all to figure this out. Today, the truth is a lie. Today, the truth is a lie. And conversely, a lie is the truth today. Now that doesn't make sense. I mean, that's kind of a, you can't be, that can't be. You can't say that. Well, you can, because today the truth is a lie. If you go and look at the truth Is the truth what we hear represented on Fox, or is the truth what we hear represented on CNN? Which is it? One of them's got to be a lie. One of them's got to be a lie.
So you're
But
saying you're saying what they claim to be the truth is actually a lie.
Well, it's not what they claim to be the truth. It's what they declare to be the truth. It's more than claim, it's declare. That's a better word. I mean, I guess maybe they mean sort of the same thing, but in my mind, declaring that this is the truth when it is an out and out lie is a lie. But if that's all you see, if that's all you hear, then guys, that lie is the truth. Now, I just saw the results of a Fox poll that showed that the young people of voting age in this country, 58% like socialism. Now, I don't understand the poll's question. I'm not sure I know the total of the poll's question. I don't know if that means they want socialism. They just think socialism's good. You know, I don't know that part of it, but it doesn't matter. If 58% of the young people voting age in this country, 58% consider socialism anything other than a threat to our way of life, that's horribly, incredibly bad. And you have to ask yourself, and I'm going to call them millennials, are the millennials that stupid? Are they? Now remember, they're supposed to be, by all standards of measurement we use today, the smartest generation in the history of the world. Our millennials are supposed to be the smartest generation in the history of the world. And you could understand their view of socialism. You could understand it if they did not have access to a wealth of information and knowledge, wealth of information and knowledge. You have to ask yourself, how can a person who is so smart that they know how to use the computer, they know how to look up any and everything they need to find on any occasion on the internet somehow, some way. I can't do it, but they do it like breathing. Yet they cannot correlate, for example, you would think they can't correlate Venezuela and what's happened to them and still be able to say that socialism's good. You wouldn't think so. It's not possible, right? It's not possible. Except and until you see something else. This smartest generation in the history of the world is sitting there today and going along with AOC and that group and the Democrats generally about our southern border. Now, how can a person, especially one to be a part of the smartest generation in the history of the world, how can they look at 100,000 illegals coming in a month, 100,000 plus, and think that that's good and be in support of the Democratic Party when the party primary candidates for president all raise their hand to once illegals come into this country, they should be given free, totally free health care and social services. Now, if they're that smart of a generation, where Where did they mess up and not get any education about math? Was math left off? Thank you, Cynthia sent 20. Thank you, dear. You see, did they miss the part of this wealth of knowledge that had to do with math? Because somebody with that level of intelligence should be able to see at 100,000 a month, therefore every 10 months another million people, the cost of the medical services and welfare, etc. That mounts up to a huge amount of money.
But Larry,
and where does the money come from? What?
AOC just said we just have to print it. No big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she does. And once again, yes, she says it. And you know what? The smartest generation in the history of the world ought to be smart enough to figure out that that's not true. There is not a tree that the president has growing on the Capitol grounds that anytime you want, you walk back there and shake it and money comes out. People don't understand that the Federal Reserve doesn't give us money at our beck and call. It doesn't just sit there and say, how much do you need today? Oh, you need 2 trillion? Fine, we'll print 2 trillion. What size bills do you want it in? And just give it to us. They don't. They'll print it. But just the mere printing of it, after they had gouged us for the cost of printing it, then they turn around and charge 10 to 12% interest for giving it to us, loaning it to us. Now, I'm not going to expect even the smartest generation in the history of the world to understand and comprehend the way the Federal Reserve works and how all the money comes to us and how it all works out. I don't expect that. But I do expect a certain amount of just absolute common sense. We don't have the money. We don't. And then when you take figures for every illegal that comes into this country, it costs us I'm rounding it off, $75,000 a year to keep them here. Every one of them. $75,000 a year. Guys.
Isn't that $7.5 billion?
Yes.
For a million people, and that's not even for a whole year?
That's not even for a whole year. I mean, that's what I'm telling you, folks. Just simple logic. But they don't. And then you say, well, how can that be? It's what I've been telling you. That's all they see. The only version of the truth that they see comes to them through either MSNBC, CNN, or the internet of some liberal program or whatever you call it on there, or they believe it coming from the candidates that talk about it. They're politicians. You know, just because people like that AOC person, and some of the young guys may think, I guess, that she's good looking or whatever melts their butter. I have no idea. But just because of that, it doesn't remove the responsibility of knowing that she is dingbat crazy. Dingbat crazy. And what's worse is we see that she's crazy. We see that she's nutty as a fruitcake. Her Green Deal, it's nuts. It's absolutely doing away with combustible engines in 10 years or whatever she says. It can't, anyway, that's just nuts. But here's what ought to scare you to death. There are members of Congress in her party and Republicans as well that are dumber than she is. And these people of that kind of stupidness are the ones that are making the laws and the rules for us. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But it all boils down to, if the only thing you see or hear is what they get from MSNBC and CNN, and any of you, do it yourself. Do it yourself and see. You understand then why they are the way they are. It doesn't forgive them. It doesn't do away with their responsibility. But at least you understand why they're where they're at.
Larry, I'm going to throw something in here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people are really liking Beto O'Rourke because of, you know, in my opinion, the guy talks nothing but gibberish and nonsense. But I have wondered if movies like Dumb and Dumber so elevates talking stupid that it's the cool way to talk. It just makes me wonder if that's had an impact on what these think is the proper way to interact, because I watch young people and the crazy stuff that comes out of their mouth, and they laugh and think it's great fun. It's inability to think logically or philosophically or strategically. It's just all fun and games.
Marilyn, some of that, I myself, now don't let in my opinion, that's what it is, my opinion. Some of that, in my opinion, is just growing up. Just the exuberance of youth, just fun stuff that young people do. And we have to allow them that space to do it. They do. Now, what that Beto character has tried to do is he found a niche. He thought if he could ride a skateboard, he thought or thinks if he can ride a skateboard or he can do silly stuff that the young people relate to, that they think's funny. And wouldn't it be cool to have a young president that's, you know, like we are as young people and wants to do all the fun things in life? He's tapped into that. The problem he has, that audience, that group, wasn't big enough to beat, what's his name, Cruz, for the Senate. It's not big enough to help him win even in the primary. But he's tapped into that. And if you look at the Democrats, their candidates for the presidency, each one of them have tried to tap in to a different segment of the Democratic Party, different societies. They've each tried to claim a little niche. And that's understandable. That's good. I can see that. Problem is, they won't win. They will not win. The other problem that we have is that during the Democratic primary for president, Benjamin sent 20, thanks, Ben. In the primary for president from the Democratic Party, what's going to happen is they're all playing right now to the hard base of the Democratic Party, and they're actually playing to the far left, the far outside of the Democratic Party. Why? Why are they doing it? Well, it's simple. Because in the Democratic Party primary, historically, the real solid left people, the ones that are for the most extreme left stuff in the world, free healthcare, free college, reparation, all of that freebie stuff, those people will turn out and vote, all of them, in the Democratic primary. They will. That's why now is our opportunity to activate our soft base. Because now each and every one of those candidates are playing to that far outlying left group. But once they win, whoever wins, what will happen? They will move towards the center for the general election because they have enough sense to know that there's not enough votes in the extreme far left total to win the presidency nationally. They know that. So historically, what they've been able to do is simply move towards the center. And in a race where the formula is 40-40-20, and the race will be decided by that 20% that's in the middle, the swing voter, the don't care, as I call them, that's how you win. You win the majority of those, and you win the election. This time, it's not going to be that way. So the reason I'm telling you, we've got to move now, while they're claiming they're socialist, while they're saying it, we can say to our soft base, don't believe us, look at what they're saying. They're the ones saying it. They're calling themselves democratic socialists. Their plans, their policies, their programs, those are all socialist agenda programs and projects. But here's where it's going to get tough for us. Unlike a 40-40-20 election, where they will move to the center, but that's a gentle shift to the center. This time, they are going to cold cut out socialism. They are actually going to deny that they are socialists. They are going to shout it to the mountaintops. The media is going to cooperate with them 1,000,000%, and everything anybody anywhere sees except on Fox. And then during the campaign, it's just going to be certain programs actually on Fox that'll do it. But every place in the media that people see or hear, they're going to stand behind the Democratic candidate claiming that he or she is not a socialist, and that anybody that claims they're socialists are nuts. Do y'all see that? Can y'all see that occurring in the net result of it? You know, when they start claiming they're not socialists, and the media backs them up, and you go and tell someone in our soft base that's on the margin that presidential candidate, whomever it is a socialist, a devout socialist, and going to destroy the country, and they're going to say back to you, well, that can't be. If that were true, you know, the media would tell you, but he says he's not, and the media proves he's not, or she's not. And it'll be harder to convince people then. And I don't need to tell y'all that the memory of the American voter is extremely short. So it won't be long until after whoever gets to be the candidate becomes the candidate. It won't be long until nobody will remember except us the fact that during the primary, all the Democrats claimed they were democratic socialists. We have a job to do, and we must do it. We must. And I go back to the Horowitz report. There's 50% of this nation, and probably better than 50%, that believe that report that Horowitz came out and released yesterday, or whenever, I guess it was yesterday. 50% or better of this nation believe that report absolved James Comey of any wrongdoing, period, zip. And that everything that's been said about Comey, including him being fired, was all a nasty deed done by President Trump. That's what over half of the people in this country believe right now, y'all. Right now. And like I told you yesterday, me, doesn't mean you have to, but I support Barr's decision to not prosecute based off of the issues in this Horowitz IG report. I support his decision not to prosecute. Because, and I'll tell you again, although I've told you over and over, but I'm going to tell you one more time, because if that case is brought and tried before the 12th Federal Court, District 12, I don't care what evidence he's got for lying and leaking. It doesn't matter the level, the quality, or any of that stuff that Barr would have on Comey. There's probably an 85% chance or better that due to the crookedness of the 12th Circuit Court, due to the crookedness of the court, Barr's going to lose. And then if he loses in the two remaining cases that he's going to file, or I understand he's going to file, which we'll go over that in a minute, anything he does in those cases, if you mention lying as a part of your evidence or part of your case, well, then it'll be thrown out because he will have been found innocent of lying. Then you can't charge him again. They'll claim double jeopardy. Now, I don't believe that that's legally sound for them to do it, but that's what they'll claim, and there'll be nothing anybody can do about it. So the cases that are yet to come, which have to do with FISA, and I'll go ahead and tell you what the other case is. Maybe I'm not supposed to, but I'm going to. Look, I've got to give you some hope. I've got to. And maybe I'm out of line by giving you some things in advance that I'm not supposed to be telling. But I think today, on this Friday, a little boost is not going to hurt us. We need something to go into the weekend positive with. So if I step out of line and tell you something I shouldn't, then they'll just have to sue me or put me in jail. One of the two remaining cases that Barr is pursuing, number one, of course, is the FISA. The FISA report is pretty much on its face what it is. He signed to be able to get a FISA court, which is a court specifically designed to be able to investigate God, my mind just went blank. To investigate cases like they were trying to do with Trump. In it, when you put down something as evidence and you put where it says you swear under oath at the risk of committing perjury that what you're turning in you know to be true. If it's not, you committed perjury, number one, but even worse than that, you lied to a court. And as a member of the bar and as a member of the legal world, that's even worse. Counterintelligence investigation. So James Comey knew that the dossier, Steele dossier as it's referred, he knew that it was not verified. He knew at least that minimally he knew it was not 100% verified. Yet he fraudulently signed a court document, a court instrument as it's called, saying that it was authentic, that it was real, when he knew it wasn't. Case number one, yet to come against Comey. Case number two,
uh-oh. Did we lose you, Larry?
is what it is. I'm here. Are you there?
Say again.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah. Say again what you said because we lost you. back.
I will call the second case the precipitation case. What precipitated this entire thing? Now, law has assigned the majority of that investigation to Durham. That's what Durham is working almost exclusively on. What precipitated this whole thing from the very beginning? And of course, Comey is a vital part of that case because just about every aspect of this case started with James Comey and what he tried to do to President Trump before he was president. He tried to set him up. You know, he
Hello? Uh-oh. I'm trying to catch up on questions while we're waiting for him to come back. Larry, we lost you, in case you don't know. Yes, trying to overthrow a president, trying to overthrow and block a presidential candidate. Yes, that is treason, especially if you're trying to overthrow a president. We have a crime at a level now that our country has never, ever, ever seen before. Okay. You're back, hon. You're back.
I'm back. Okay, I'm back. There. Sorry about that.
Yeah, where you
So
left
anyway,
where you left off was that Comey tried to set up Trump from before the election.
Yes. His meeting, we have found out. Now, this I can tell you because, well, maybe I can't. Anyway, I want to tell you some of it. Maybe it's in the Horowitz report, which may give us some cover. But anyway, the point is, when Comey went in the Trump Towers and had his meeting with then candidate or President-elect Trump, I suppose, when he went in there, he had already prearranged, folks, with Strzok, McCabe, and others. They had planned it out. He was going in to disarm Trump, make him believe that he was not under investigation, a trick they pulled on General Flynn, you know, tell him he's not being prosecuted, not to worry about anything, you don't need an attorney. His job was to go in, get Trump to drop his guard, and then to glean any evidence they could gather from that meeting. Could there be anything gathered from Trump that they could use to get him with? And he can't say that he didn't do it like that because they have the case where McCabe and them were all waiting for his results to come out of that meeting. That's why the minute he left the Trump Tower meeting, he did his memo in his computer. He did that right out of the chutes because that was what it was planned to do. Now, that is known as conspiracy. He conspired to set him up, which is illegal. That's not what the FBI can do. So does that help everybody? Mary Ellen?
Yes, sir. I think that does. We've got a bunch of questions.
All right, go ahead. What are they?
Okay. What are Biden's chances with his problems with senility, and who would be the candidate in his place?
Well, right now, I'm just going to tell you that all of that flubbing that he does and his making mistakes and all of that, that is significant to us. But if the DNC still choose to make him their front person, they'll do it. And think about it, guys. See, here again, I'm going to ask you to do something. Fox News tells us about all of his blunders, all right? But go watch MSNBC. Go watch CNN. They don't. So if you don't hear about his bloopers, right? Did they really happen? See how it works?
Yeah.
Now, if the party decide that he can't carry the mail, then they will pick somebody else. And at this point, I believe the two people that I think they would most probably choose would be Warren and I don't know, they might take that other woman from California, whatever her name is. I can't remember her name ever.
Kamala Harris.
Yes, they might choose her and Warren, but I doubt it'll be Harris because they are keenly aware of the garbage and trash Harris has in both her career and her private life, that they know Trump will be all over like white on rice. So that's my opinion. That's all it is. At this point, I'm still telling you all of the stuff that I see, all the evidence I see, is they are still carrying Biden as their man.
And Paul, as a follow-up, Paul was asking, what about Obama not backing Biden?
Well, Obama is not wanting Biden in the race because of his connection to the orders given Clapper and Brennan. That's why Obama didn't want him to get in the race, because he knows that will become an issue. Trump will see that becomes an issue, even if Barr drops it for some reason, which he won't. But anyway, if he's crooked, he will. So, that's if Biden ends up getting the nomination, then believe it or not, what you're going to hear on MSNBC and CNN is he's been supporting Biden all the time, and that the Fox people made up the story that he didn't want him to run. Remember, be careful with what you consider news. I mean, Fox is going to generally give you a better representation of the truth than any of them. All right. So, but what I'm saying about being careful is, even though Fox is telling you what the truth is in most cases, that doesn't mean what over 50% of the people hear. I don't know that CNN and MSNBC audiences even know about the bloopers, and I doubt very seriously that they have been informed that Obama's asked him not to run. I don't watch them enough to be able to tell you that, but I would not be surprised, and you should not either, that the people that watch those two networks and ABC and NBC and CBS, they probably don't even know that happened, and may not even know the bloopers are happening.
Isn't trying to overthrow a president treason? That's another question.
Yes.
Okay, question. Has Larry ever heard of Joseph Stalin's 100-year plan devised in the 1930s to infiltrate the West and its institutions and its Catholic Church with communist homosexuals?
It seems that I have, but let me assure you, the Soviet Union, Russia, China, all of them have had plans similar for years and years and years. They've all known since fairly soon after they formed the UN. Most all of our big enemies have known that the key to America was to deceive the American people. Now, how do they know that? Because they know in their own countries that by them controlling the media, government-owned media in those countries, that the public will believe that which they hear, and that's all they hear. So they've known all along that all they've got to do is one day find the channel, the pathway to get to the American people. And when they did, they would win. So I wonder if all of this with the orchestrated media, the DNC, I'm not so sure. Well, I am sure of one thing, folks. This effort, this coup to overthrow our country, that is not just an effort by people inside our country to get the control of this nation. It's not. This is a part of the Progressive Council globally. And as I have told you, the one thing they know, if the Progressive Council is to take over the world, the first thing it has to do is it has to conquer the United States of America. If they can get us to become a socialist country, the rest of the world will cave in fairly promptly, except like China. But that'll be a battle we won't care about, because if we are transformed, it won't mean anything to us either way. What else you got, Mary Ellen?
Somebody was asking if the deep state is a bigger threat, and I'm not sure bigger threat than what.
Is it a bigger threat? I would assume, based off the previous question, they might be asking, is the deep state threat a bigger threat than, say, a Stalin, Khrushchev, the plan to take us from within? Is that a bigger plan than the deep state plan? And what I'm trying to tell you, and I've fumbled around with it, I guess, that is the same plan. That's the same plan. We are fulfilling that plan as we speak right now in this country. Right now. And let me assure you, some of the players in this country that are participating in this coup probably don't realize that they're acting on behalf of the Global Progressive Council. They may not even know. They may think they're doing it for their benefit, for them to be powerful, for them to be, the elite. Could be. But I assure you, this whole coup is a function of the Progressive Council. Some of you call them the Bilderbergers. Some of you call them the Trilateral. Some of you call them all of these names for these groups that you've talked about all these years. The real name that they go by is the Progressive Council.
Do you think Bernie's losing steam?
Yes. Yes. Now, is he really losing steam? Probably not. But the DNC, the Democratic Party, and the media have learned from the last election. They're not going to let Sanders get the following fired up like he did the last time. So they are basically suppressing him from the media attention that he should be getting. Sanders, as far as crowd size at his speeches and such, he is still 10 times bigger than any of the other candidates. But you'll notice you don't hear that. You won't hear about it. He will not win. He will not. They will fix it to where he will not win. I don't know what they're going to give him this time, but they will make him a deal that he can't refuse when this is towards the end. What else you got?
Your opinion on Q?
My opinion on Q? Is that what you asked me? My opinion of Q?
Yes, sir.
I've given it before. I know there's a 2-minute delay, but before I answer this question, I want to ask as many of you that will send a message to Mary Ellen, a chat thingy, and ask and tell me that you want me or you don't want me to give my opinion a Q. I want to know if you really want to know what I think.
Okay, one question while we're waiting for them to ask. Somebody said Q is legit. Federal law versus state law, which has precedence?
It depends on the issue. For example, if it has to do with our border, with immigration, the federal government has precedent. It is the power. If it has to do with coining a currency, that's under the purview of the federal government. If it is providing and maintaining a military, that is the purview of the federal government, less one part, which is National Guard, which is part of the state. But other than those, and maybe one or two others that I have left off, all other powers belong to the state, not to the federal government, not to the federal government. But the states have given up, they didn't lose it, they gave up the power that they were blessed with through our Constitution.
Okay, most want to know about Q.
All right, here we go. My opinion is Q is one of two things. To me, that doesn't mean I'm right. So everybody understand that does not mean I'm right. It's just my opinion. I believe Q is either some kind of bunch of smart kids that are just having a ball, tricking people. You know, they're smart. I mean, they're looking at things and they're working out stuff to, but they're doing it for entertainment and having fun with it, maybe making money. I don't know if it's monetized. I don't know anything about that stuff. It's either that or they are an organized disinformation group or place. Now you wonder, why do I say that? Well, I am not a follower of Q. So I cannot tell you with certainty about a whole lot of what he says or it says or whoever it is says. But in many cases, they've been wrong. But what makes me know it's a trick is it's the way they present stuff with these little, like,
puzzles.
Things, puzzles, yes, riddles. I mean, it's where they throw it out there, but they don't tell you, but they tell you they're telling you, and then you got to figure it out. And then if you figure it out the way they intend for you to figure it out, and it turns out to be wrong, then they've got to fall back that they can say, well, that's not what you said. You misunderstood the riddle or whatever. Guys, a lot of the things that they put out that they know that they got from some deep source is not true. They don't have deep sources. I assure you, some of the things that I have been told, so I didn't see it myself, I don't know it myself, but what I have been told by many of y'all that have told me this stuff, many of y'all have told me things that they said they had that they got from knowing a general, for example, or knowing somebody that was big in this, that, or the other. And it's not true. Some of the things that they were alluding to or saying, I don't remember what they were, but what they were saying, there's no way somebody that had that high of a security clearance would dare give it up. They wouldn't give it up for fear of prosecution. So I guess, in summary, my answer is, I don't believe in that Q stuff. I don't. I'm not telling you not to. That's your business.
Well, it's 4:00. We've got, don't ask any more questions, folks. These are going to be the last two. Are the Arkansas troopers corrupt, good old boys still like they were in the 80s?
Well, Larry Patterson recently died. I miss him terribly. Roger Perry, Patterson and Perry were just, look, they were like me. I mean, we all three participated in stuff that we shouldn't have. But they were good guys. They were complicit with Bill Clinton as governor. But when Bill Clinton became credible as a candidate for the presidency, and when he became president and it affected our country, no, they changed and they became some of the most solid patriots that you could ever know. They did. What's the other?
What do you know about Hillary transferring $1 billion to Qatar in 2016?
I know about it, but that's about the extent of what I know. I do know that in some of the documents that have been recovered through the work Horowitz has done, as well as Barr and Durham, although they may not be able to be used due to the blanket thing Comey did for her.
With the immunity, you mean?
Yes. It may not amount to anything, but she definitely moved a lot of money to Qatar, to an account in the Cayman, which I couldn't believe she did, because Cayman has fallen under a lot of scrutiny, financial scrutiny, but she did. And she sent it to other places as well. She transferred out a lot of money in 2016. And if you look at the majority of the transfers of funds that were happening in 2016, it's pretty apparent to anybody that would look, anybody that would look in earnest, it'd be pretty apparent that they were dumping a lot of foundation money because they were afraid with her loss that the foundation and its assets might get caught up in some of the investigations that they thought might come. So yes, she dumped a lot of money. And probably the worst thing she did was use Chelsea as a way to dump a lot of it. I mean, I'm just saying, if you knew there was a chance you were going to be prosecuted, and if you knew moving this money could be a crime, why on earth would you why would you let your own child be a part of that? She did.
That kind of shows her character, doesn't it? That very cool.
Yeah.
What difference does it make?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Now, has anybody else got a question? Because I hate to leave you. I'm in trouble enough, so it's not going to matter.
Yeah, there's one more. And would you be willing to go on with Field McConnell or Abel Danger in his show?
I will go on with anybody to get our message out. I will.
So, folks, give me the contact information for Abel Danger, and we'll set it up. And in order to do that, send a text message to 240-499-6729. Larry, we're up to 89 people.
All right, well, let me say this, since we got 89 people, before y'all drop off the line. I went against medical advice to be here. I did. I told you I wouldn't ask y'all for money, but I've got to today because I could be in a lot of trouble health-wise if I don't raise the money right now. I mean, right now, to get back where I'm supposed to be, and that ain't here. But guys, it was Friday. I have made a commitment to be here for this program so that we can grow. I'm not going to miss it, even at the risk of causing me some health issues, which is driving Mary Ellen and my wife kind of crazy, but it's just something that we've got to do. So some of you have sent and helped. Would you please, all of you, any of you, do it now to PayPal. And my PayPal is nicholslive@aol.com. But I must raise somewhere around 650 and probably closer to 1,000 now because of what I've done. But I need your help to get it. Would you do that for me? That's all I can ask is, would you do that for me and do it now? Now with that, the weekend's coming. You're going to hear some things this weekend that are going to confuse you. You hear me? You're going to hear some things this weekend that are going to confuse you. It's going to have to do with China. I cannot tell you what, but it's going to have to do with China. And it's going to have to do with pending status of investigations. Nobody knows right now whether Barr is real or if he's another deep stater that's just going to cover everything up. I think I know. Thank you, Cindy. Cindy sent 5. I think I know, but even I can't swear to it. The key is going to be Andrew McCabe. If Barr does not at least impanel a grand jury with McCabe, if he lets him pass without prosecution or even impaneling a grand jury, if he does neither of those, then guys, I'm going to tell you, we will be in so much trouble. I can't describe it. I can't describe the trouble we'll be in. That does not mean we will have lost our country that day, but it means we'll be in a lot of trouble. A lot. There will be no time to fire Barr for the president. He can fire Barr at any moment, but he would never be able to get another director confirmed. So it would have to function with a temporary person. And for the level of these cases, the level of these crimes and the people involved, it would be very hard for an interim director of the Department of Justice or head of it. It would be very difficult for an interim person to embark on such cases. The only person that can do it and do it in time to protect this campaign season is Barr. Does that make sense, Mary Ellen? Did I say that right?
Yes. Thank you, Larry. I'm going to take over from here. We've had somebody asking about how to send money. So if you go to www.nicholslive.com, that is our website. You can see merchandise that we have for sale. There's a donate page there. Larry's PayPal is nicholslive@aol.com. That's his account at PayPal, nicholslive@aol.com. That is the fastest way to get money to Larry. If you cannot do PayPal, the website has his mailing address, 58 Kensington Drive, Conway, Arkansas. He cannot cash checks, money orders, cashier's checks, nothing like that. If you're going to send something in the mail, it has to be cash only. There is a cell phone number, 240-499-6729 for text messages only. And you can send a text message and I will call you back and we will talk about other ways to send money to help Larry. We have several other possibilities. Some can go pretty quickly, some take a bit of time. But the faster we can get money to Larry today, the better, because you can hear how his voice has really petered out and he hasn't had any support for what he needs today to support the strength in his voice.
And I know, guys, I promised you we would not dun you for money, and we're not going to. This is just an emergency occasion, and I need your help. But, I promise you, if you'll bring people to this program, this will not be a habit. This will not happen. It just, things have fouled up, and it's gotten to this critical point today. So anyway, Mary Ellen, thank you, everybody. Keep the faith. Watch for the things that will disappoint you. Betty sent 20. Thank you, hon. Just don't panic over anything you see this weekend until we can talk. Now, Monday, is that not Labor Day, correct?
Monday's Labor Day.
All right, I intend, because of what I think is going to come to pass this weekend or what's going to get out this weekend, I better plan for us to be here Monday, because I'll need to answer some things for you, or at least have some information for you to help you better understand what you may hear about this weekend. I can't swear you're going to hear something that's going to upset you, but most probably you will. And I do beg everybody, if you will, do yourself a favor. It will not seem like a favor, I promise you. But do yourself a favor and take some time and watch CNN or MSNBC or both, because you must know how things are being presented to the majority of the people in this country. You must know it, because it will help you understand and kind of calm down some of the problems you're going to have talking to people, because it'll disillusion you very quickly if you don't understand they're being fed a diet. Let me give you one quick example. I met over the phone. I talked to a lady named Sabrina. She's been here for 3 years from Venezuela. Michael sent $5. Thank you, Michael. And she was a dentist, I think, is what she was in Venezuela. She's been here for 3 years. But I asked her, when they were pulling off the transformation of her government, did they tell them back at that time when they were trying to get the people to change that they would end up eating dogs and cats? And she said, absolutely not. But then she told me something that I had not even thought about, didn't know, I guess. Still to this day, the state-run media in Venezuela is telling the people in Venezuela everything's just fine. Everything's fine. And I don't know how they can do that when people are eating dogs, except the fact that they make it out like if you're having trouble, it's just you or your community, but the rest of the country's just doing great. That's the power. That's the power of a controlled media. And it's being used on us on steroids now. So take some time, watch a little CNN, watch some MSNBC, and your eyes will open a lot wider. So with that, I've got to bid you good day, and I got 100. Oh, thank you, Janet. Janet sent 100. Oh, thank you, Janet. Thank all of you. Please, thank you all.
Julie sent something. Don sent 10.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Well, I love you all, and I will be here Monday. I hope you will be. Mary Ellen, thank you. You've got the show. I'm out.
Okay, Larry, thanks. Thank you. Robert, Barr needs to indict this week. We all, look, believe me, Larry is very aware and is passing on the information about how important it is for something to happen with McCabe, because everybody in the country is getting very impatient with what's coming, with what's not happening, with what we don't see or what we do see. And I think people are getting impatient on both sides. So you have to remember, Barr can impanel a grand jury, but we're not, that, which means he's doing something, which means he's on our side and he's working towards it. But if he impanels a grand jury, we will not hear about it, because a grand jury is supposed to be secret. So until the grand jury has done all of their investigating, when a grand jury decides to indict somebody that they've been investigating, then we will hear about it. So we can't say we have to have something happen this week, because if he impanels the grand jury right now, we won't know for a while. Yes, something is going to snap, and we have to make people aware when it comes to the lawsuits that we want to happen. Number one, who are you going to call? What court are you going to go into? The courts are rigged for socialism. Yes, Trump has put in some great judges, more than any other president, as far as I know, but they are out in outlying areas. The judges, the good judges that he has asked and appointed, and the Senate is supposed to approve, that have purview in DC, Virginia, and New York, where these cases need to be heard. Those the Senate is sitting on, because they are all hoping, Republicans and Democrats, that Trump will go away. And we cannot go into a court, like Larry was saying, Barr can't take the IG recommendation to prosecute Comey for lying. He can't go into the 12th District Court system in New York. Comey's own daughter is the prosecutor. Can't do that. And even though she would have to step aside and let somebody else come in, what prosecutor do you know would go against their co-worker's father? It's rigged. We cannot go into court until we have an honest court with purview to go into. That's the holdup. Now listen, Trump can, in the first term, a president can fire all federal prosecutors, which Bill Clinton did, and then Hillary appointed their own federal prosecutors. But in the second term, the president can fire the judges. Now they will still get their retirement pay for the rest of their life. They will stay on our taxpayer dollars, but they can at least be fired and replaced with somebody who will have an honest court. We've already seen that if they go into a rigged court, all the judge has to do is, I think Larry called it something 11, which is where they refuse to hear the case. The other thing is they can do is put a gag order on, seal all evidence, and it's done. Remember, Comey gave immunity to Hillary and a lot of people that were working with her on a lot of the cases that have been investigated, and that they're collecting information on and evidence for a trial. And they are trying to find out if there is a slight loophole where the immunity that Comey gave can be overturned. Larry has said something like that. Don't take me as, giving you exactly what needs to be done. I agree, Mary, we need to just get those federal judges out. That is something President Trump can do immediately if he wins again. I don't know if he can do it until after his inauguration in January 2021, but it's something he can do immediately and is promising actually to do. I don't know that he's set it on his campaign trail, but yet, or if he even will. So there is more happening. We all are very frustrated. I will tell you that if you go to equaljusticetour.com, there is a group that is really pushing hard for equal justice. The only problem is if they force something into court and evidence is sealed and gag order placed, then nothing more can happen because you now are entering double jeopardy to go forward. So we need to be patient until we have the right court to go into. And the fact that we are all so upset and angry shows us how close we finally realize we are to socialism, and we're panicked about it. Understandably so. You don't have any idea how worried Larry is. He did say last night, he was on with Pastor Sanders last night, and I didn't know until I think he was going on live when he called me and said, "Hey, I'm going on right now." There wasn't time for me to put the word out to anybody. I'm sorry. But he did say last night, if Barr doesn't do something with McCabe, and the other piece is, if he doesn't a grand jury and they decide to indict Comey, Barr will still have time to wait to get enough. There's enough lag time that he can take to be able to wait for a federal judge to go in. And remember, if Trump wins, then the Senate and House will probably flip to Republican with him. And he will have more power because the people will have spoken, and he will have more power over the Republicans in the Congress to get them to cooperate a little more. Getting scared, yeah, I'm getting scared too. And those of you who know what I've done to help deal with all of this, it's hard to look at all this. But remember, if communism comes, they're going to nationalize the banks. And so everything we own in financially, 401ks, IRAs, bank accounts will be frozen and taken. So if you want to spend some money, spend it now. And if we are wanting to save our country, spending it on Larry and his medical needs and the other things that he would like to be able to do if we had the money, this is the time to do it. While we can get the word out about socialism, Larry's been saying for 3 years, we are this close. The space between your thumb and forefinger, we are that close to socialism. And it's, you need to really press those fingers tightly together. Because that's how close we are. And yes, Don, precious metals is something that a lot of people are suggesting. Larry's been suggesting cash, but he's having to rethink that because of what, when you see Facebook coming out with the Libra, who's going to get on that bandwagon? Where are the places? Are there a lot of places where people shop? Where do most people shop? What happens if those places where most people shop, what happens if they get on the bandwagon to only accept Facebook's Libra currency? I mean, that could be really scary if something like that were to happen. Is that a possibility? I don't know. I don't know enough. And, but it's something to consider. We've got some real potential danger coming. Libra is the name of the digital currency that Facebook is creating. So they're getting into the digital market to compete against some of the other digital currencies. And because Facebook's such a backed big organization, there will be others that are jumping on the bandwagon with Facebook to do that. So, folks, Larry's website, nicholslive.com. Larry's PayPal, nicholslive@aol.com. Remember, he can only accept cash in the mail. Text me, 240-499-6729 if you want to donate and can't use PayPal or don't want to send cash in the mail or want money to get to Larry quicker. Josephine, you're right. There is nothing safe. That's why we trust the Lord, because look at Sodom and Gomorrah. When God punished Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot and his daughters and his wife were saved. And of course, his wife looked back and disobeyed. But Folks, if you pray for the president, pray for Larry. If you pray for Larry, pray for the president. They are both in very grave danger because of what they know, what they're dealing with, the number of people who want them out of the picture. The number, I can't put my cell phone number in the chat because it involves a 6, and I don't have a 6 on my computer. It crashed. I don't know how to fix it. If you look in the description under the video, the cell phone number is there. If you go to nicholslive.com, the number is there. And I'm sorry, I can't put it in the chat because my computer won't let me type in a 6. So thanks, folks. God bless you. Have a great weekend. Again, if there's an emergency, I'll throw in a broadcast without Larry if necessary. Please know that his situation today is dire and urgent. So be as generous as you can. And I'm sorry we keep having to beg for this, but that's how critical it is. Otherwise we wouldn't. So thanks a lot. Thank you, and God bless you. Have a great weekend and a wonderful Memorial Day. And we will be here Monday to let you know what happened over the weekend with the news that Larry's concerned may be coming out. Remember, there's nobody in DC that we can trust. God bless you. Bye.